Good afternoon. I want to thank you for joining me today. There's so much buzz around 1099Ks right now, and there are some changes coming to that are causing some confusion for many photographers. So I want to clear all this up for you today, and we're going to talk about everything that you need to understand about these, we'll say, pesky little tax forms, okay? What you're going to learn today, we're going to go over what is a 1099K, who issues the 1099K, when is it due? We're going to talk about the upcoming threshold changes. We're going to talk about how 1099Ks affect your payments to contractors, which is probably a big thing on your list if you're here today. We're also going to talk about the business versus personal transactions, because that's also almost affects all of us. And then we're going to go over some best practices. Then I want to share a little bit about the Legit Photographer with you. So at the end, I'm just going to go through a little bit and show you how what we cover today, we can do a lot deeper inside of the Legit Photographer Collective. So stay with me for that. Then I will do a live Q&A. So at the end of this, I'll jump on camera and answer all your 1099K questions. But to be fair, this is only for those who attend live. So if you are watching this recording somewhere, then you want to make sure that you go to bastionaccounting.com/register and get registered so that you can get the Zoom link and be part of our weekly trainings to be part of a live Q&A. So just want to be clear on that. So everybody who's here, we are going to jump and do a Q&A together after this presentation. In case we haven't met yet, I am Tiffany Bastion. I am the owner and founder of Bastion Accounting for Photographers. Basically, something to cover real quick for you guys is I do have a master's degree in accounting, and I am an IRS enrolled agent. So I don't work for the IRS. I am certified through the IRS to do taxes. I take a 3-part exam, right? Personal taxes, business taxes, and ethics. And a lot of times people confuse accountants with CPAs, or that they are synonymous. They are not. A CPA has to register in their state. So they go and take the CPA exam, but then they have to register in the states that they work in. And those are the states that they work in. That's why you have to find a CPA in your state. But when it comes to using an EA, I actually can represent in all states, and I really specialize in tax law. CPA exam has 4 parts, but only one small part of one of the exams even touches tax. So a CPA needs to get their license, and then they need to continue on their tax education and specialize. So just to give you a little gist on what that is, sort of my life's campaign is to sort of share with people what EAs are. A lot of people just assume I'm a CPA. I am not. I am an EA, and I've been an accountant for 20 years and been working with photographers specifically for the last 3 to 5. It was creative entrepreneurs, but we went full on photographers a couple years back. So there's the story on that. My team and I want to kind of go through with you what we offer photographers. So hopefully if you're new here, you've checked out some of our freebies. We have the Facebook group, and in there I always link you to a lot of our freebies, like the business expense breakdown guide or the sales tax guide, broken down state by state for photographers. It addresses both sales tax in your state and then destination if you're traveling to other states to shoot, things you need to know. Then we have the Done With You. This is our newest edition here, and this is the Legit Photographer Collective. It is basically all of the courses I've ever created, all inside of one membership, where it's broken into phases based on where you are in your business. We go through the foundations. We teach you everything you need to understand about all the different taxes. We have a deep dive on sales tax. Then we kind of walk through phase 2, where we get you all compliant. We get you set up. I show you how to get a tax ID, how to file for an S corporation, how to get your business formed. If you need to set up payroll, we have demos in there from some software companies. And we also have monthly master classes and a weekly Zoom call to answer all your questions in there. We go through how to set up QuickBooks Online, how to use QuickBooks Online with the Tax Planner Pro software. You get free access to that. It's endless. There is so much stuff in there. And it was just really a way for me to bring together all of my content into one place where I could support you really thoroughly weekly. So you can check that out, and I'll give you more information on that at the end. And then we have the Done For You. I'm always super surprised when I have photographers message me on Instagram or on social media, and they're just like, wait, you do bookkeeping or you do taxes? So yes, that's the core of our business, is that we do all of the Done For You services. All of our clients are photographers, and we set up their QuickBooks, and we maintain it, and we categorize things, and we work with them. We do their financials each month. We do taxes, we do tax planning, we do business formation. It's all there. So I just want to bring some awareness to what we do and how we serve photographers. But I'm also a mom, and of a human and a dog. And I'm a wife. I'm a margarita connoisseur, and I love to travel. And this is really just a little bit of my life in a nutshell on a slide for you to see what makes me happy. I believe, 3 things. I believe life is about making memories. I believe money is a renewable resource. That is, the thing that we can do. You're able to be here and do the thing that you love and create income from that to do the things you love. For me, it's travel. It's spending time with my family, right? So being an entrepreneur is not for the faint at heart. Some of you may know this, but it's so rewarding. And you're always exactly where you're supposed to be, even when it sucks, right? And it's so true because you're here with me today. Something brought you here and, you're in that mode. You want to know what these 1099Ks are. You really want to get your business, legit. You want to understand what's going on. And I say awesome to you for making that next effort. It's not always fun, can be super confusing and overwhelming, but you're here to take that next step. But most of all, I'm an entrepreneur just like you. I get it. There are like a million moving parts, right? There's a lot going on. So I create these trainings so I can help, marry my world to yours, explain the taxes and the laws and the compliance and the things that maybe you find confusing in a way that hopefully isn't confusing. I think we can break it down. I really believe in the, sort of teach a person to fish situation. And that's what we're here for today. So with that, are you guys ready to get into 1099Ks? All right. So buckle up because this is, we'll say, a dry topic that I'm going to add as much fun to as I can. Okay, friends? So what is the 1099K? So first of all, the IRS uses third-party information reporting on forms in the 1099 series. Think about tax forms. If you start thinking about them, you're going to notice there's a number on every single one of them, right? So actually, believe it or not, is a bunch of different 1099 forms. And I go in depth. This is actually a picture from the slide inside of the Legit Photographer Collective where we go through what each of these forms are, when you get it, what it pertains to. I really break everything down in there for you. But the ones you really to draw attention to is the 1099 miscellaneous and the 1099 NEC. These are probably the two you're most familiar with. They all pertain to different things, but I just want you to be aware that the 1099K is not like some lone wolf, right? But that's what we're focusing on today. So we're going to laser focus on the 1099K form that's causing all the ruckus lately. The increase in online commerce has really brought the 1099K to the surface. As with any tax form, the IRS has these forms in place to make sure that those who receive income are reporting and paying taxes on it. It's interesting to me, though, because the 1099K has been getting so much attention, we'll say over the past year and a half, 2 years. Did you know that in the Housing and Economic Recovery Act of 2008 is when it was born? A new requirement was laid out for banks and credit card merchants to report payments to the IRS. This requirement took effect in 2011, and the Form 1099K was first issued in 2012. So you see, this is the 2011 1099K first form that was in 2012 for the 2011 tax year. You can see up top here when they started talking about this form being something they needed to be able to start to understand all the payments going through these third-party network transactions, right? So it's been around for a minute. Right? So if you use third parties to facilitate transactions, you may receive a 1099K. What is a third party processor? You're probably asking. Lucky for you, I'm going to tell you. The IRS explains payments made with a credit card or payment card and certain other types of payments, including third party network transactions, must be reported on Form 1099K by the payment settlement. So these are anything where you pay a fee to process a payment. This is going to be like credit cards, Stripe, Square, PayPal, Venmo. However, very, very important, business accounts only. PayPal and Venmo have business accounts that charge you fees. Those are meant for businesses, not the friends and family accounts. If you're not paying a fee, then you do not have a business account. Friends and family accounts do not charge fees and are not supposed to be used for business. It's actually against their terms of service. So just be aware of that. But I also want to be clear with you what's not a third-party processor, and that is all payments made by check, cash, or debit card, or payments made through non-fee processors like Zelle, so that's bank-to-bank transfers, PayPal or Venmo that are friends and family, so there's no fees. If you do not pay a fee to process transactions, this is not a third-party processor. Okay, so now you know who is a third-party processor and who's not, correct? Right? You guys are good? We're going to move on. Who issues a 1099K and when is it due? Before we get into that, I want us to talk about the upcoming threshold changes really quick, so we're on the same page. So currently, third-party payment processors have to issue a 1099K if you have transactions in excess of $20,000 and this is super important, and you have 200 transactions. So if you have $25,000 that was only made up of 10 transactions, you're not getting one, right? So it's $20,000 and 200 transactions. Now, when we have to report, and I'm not going to go too deep in here, but the threshold for a 1099K is now the same as a 1099 miscellaneous and a 1099 NEC. Right? So you guys are probably familiar with that. If you are paying contractors cash, it's $600 or more. I want you to realize, look at the difference here. So if you're paying everybody through PayPal, PayPal's not reporting it until they hit $20,000 or 200 transactions in their business account. Okay. But if you had to report it at $600 or more, do you see the huge gap of like $14,400? Am I doing it right? No, I'm not. $19,400. Like, so you could see how people could slip through the cracks. And it's been like this for quite some time, right? So interestingly enough, they have definitely decided it was supposed to be for 2022, but now it's taking effect in 2023. So the current year that we're in right now is $600 and or more. So $600 on the dot or more, and no transaction limit. That means that starting now, you really need to keep yourself organized. We're going to talk about that as we move forward a few slides, but keep yourself really organized because the game has changed for this. Okay. So $600 or more, no transaction limit. That's a huge change starting January 1st. Now, if you're doing last year, right now we're kind of in the mode for last year's taxes for 2022. Everything for 2022 is still $20,000 and 200 transactions. Also keep in mind, this is for the IRS. Your state may require a 1099K to be issued based on different criteria, so be sure to check with your state's Department of Revenue. The states always get forgotten when it comes to taxes and forms and things like that, so just make sure you know that. If you meet the requirement to receive a 1099K, you should receive it no later than January 31st of the current tax year for the last year's transactions. Now, this is probably what you're all here for. So let's talk about how the 1099K affects your payments to contractors, okay? I'm not going to go deep into the 1099 NEC, which, by the way, was brand new in 2020. It used to just be the 1099 miscellaneous form for everything. Then they took the non-employee compensation field off of the 1099 miscellaneous and put it on its own form, 1099 NEC, so that you have to report it on its own form. They're really cracking down on self-employed individuals. They're really wanting to track where people are making money. So we're not going to go into too much deep detail here, but again, that's something I cover deeply inside of the Legit Photographer Collective. I'm going to give you a brief history of this. So when you are paying someone who is not an employee for services, they're considered quote unquote self-employed, and you'll need to issue them a 1099. You're required to have a signed and filled out W-9 on file, and that W-9 is the information you use at the end of the year to process your 1099s, which are also due is the same day as 1099Ks, right? There's also due on January 31st to the individual if you paid them $600 or more. Let's take a look at how these forms differ. So 1099K reports payments from credit cards or third-party payment platforms like Venmo or PayPal that we just covered. And the 1099 NEC form records payments from cash, check, direct deposit, ACH, or electronic funds transfer, anything that there wasn't a fee to process. You'll also notice the 1099K here has it by month. It breaks it down by month. It didn't originally in that 2011 form, but now it does. It breaks it down by month. However, the 1099 NEC really just has an annual amount for the non-employee compensation for the entire year. So this is what you would issue contractors that you paid in these methods. If you paid them with these methods of credit card or third-party payment platforms, then they will get issued this if they're using a business account. And it's not on you to make sure they're using a business account. They should be if they're self-employed. Right? So the big question probably is how to handle mixed transactions, right? We have clients who will pay through PayPal, and then maybe they send a couple checks, and then maybe they do a Venmo. So how do you keep track of all that? First of all, you have good bookkeeping. That is another thing that we teach. We set up QuickBooks Online. We do all of that inside the Legit Photographer Collective. Once you have that, now you can pull reporting based on how those things were paid so that you can easily at the end of year decide what needs to be processed. What do you need to issue? So in order to help with that, I'm going to go through a couple scenarios here. Okay. So scenario one is Fancy Pants Boudoir paid a makeup artist, Sue Smith, a single member LLC, $25,000 for various client shoots during the year. Of that $25,000, $15,000 was paid via credit card and $10,000 was paid via check. Okay. So in this situation, Fancy Pants has great bookkeeping. They're able to actually look under the vendor, pull a report and see what was paid via credit card, what was paid via check, right? Because that bookkeeping is like every day I'm going to drill this home. No matter what we're doing, I'm going to drill home to you. Bookkeeping is everything. QuickBooks Online is the most robust and is going to help you get all that organized. So in this situation, though, Fancy Pants Fedora is required to issue a 1099 NEC, like we were just talking about back here, for the $10,000. And then Sue Smith is going to get the $15,000 reported through a 1099K. So let's go back over here. So see how that gets split up? Does that make sense to you? Oops, here we go, this one. And then we're going to go to scenario 2. So Fancy Pants Fedora paid Sally Roberts $22,000 for hairstyling services for various client shoots for the tax year. $22,000 was paid via PayPal Business. In this scenario, Fancy Pants is not required to issue a 1099 NEC, even though Sally Roberts is not guaranteed to receive, right? Because it's $22,000 plus 200 transactions. So she may not receive a 1099K, but back it all up. She's a business and she needs to know that she has to report all income regardless of the tax forms that she gets in the mail, right? But it's not your responsibility to issue her anything because you paid her through a third-party payment network it's their responsibility to report that. So let's look at what the 1099 NEC instructions say, okay? Payments made with a credit card or payment card and certain other types of payments, including third-party network transactions, must be reported on Form 1099K and are not subject to reporting on 1099 NEC because it then will be reported twice. Now, currently, where the limit is $20,000 and for the NEC is $600 and the 1099K is $20,000, it's not a big deal, right? You might accidentally issue a 1099 NEC when you didn't need to. And then what happens is it doesn't matter, right? Because no one's reporting the 1099K because they didn't meet the threshold. But for 2023, when we're in 2024 doing 2023 taxes and forms, you got to be aware because it's the same limit. So you want to make sure you understand how you paid them and how much was paid which way and which ones you need to report because you don't want to double report that. And that's why I'm going to say, keep it simple, my friends. Okay. Pick one method to pay your contractors and even better, like pick a third-party payment processor, pay them all through PayPal Business, and you will never have to worry about 1099s again. You will, though, I do want a disclaimer, still need to have a signed W-9 on file. That you should have it on file before you pay any contractor. You need to be compliant. You still need that, but you won't have to worry about filing any 1099s. I actually have a whole blog post on this, like how to avoid 1099s. If you don't want to worry about it, pay them through a third-party payment network that is responsible for doing it for you. Whatever you do, though, keep it simple. Pick one and go with it. Make your life easier in January. So the next thing we're going to talk about is the business versus personal. This is where it starts to get a little dicey. We have an overall understanding of how the 1099 affects your photography business now, but what about those personal transactions? We all have them. The IRS states, whether you own a business, are self-employed, work in the gig economy, or are selling personal items, includes the gross amount of all payment transactions. So that's going to go on Form 1099K, includes the gross amount of all payment transactions. So this affects you personally as well, right? With the gig economy and so many entrepreneurs and people with side hustles, like we said before, we knew this was coming. We knew there was going to be a way they were going to make sure that, people are processing electronic transactions all the time. And that's how they can really start to track and understand what people are bringing as income and making sure that they are also paying taxes on it. This year with the new $600 threshold, you're probably going to see a lot more 1099Ks than you have before. You can see now more than ever why keeping your business and personal accounts separate is so crucial. And I really don't advise using Venmo because it uses your phone number. So your personal and business account are still running through the same account. And so you have to pull a report to separate it out. And you want to be really clear. A lot of people are not clear in their Venmo description. Your Venmo description is a dancing lady with a fire or a martini emoji. You really want to be very clear with what these things are, because now they're going to be reported and you want to make sure that you can speak to what they are. So we're going to look at this in a different way. We're going to divide all transactions in your life that you process through electronic payment into 3 categories: business, personal cash, and personal sales. So business, so all 1099K income that, when you receive 1099Ks for your business, that's all taxable income. Those were all business transactions. You need to report that. Even if you don't meet the threshold to get a 1099K and you still use PayPal, it's your responsibility to report all of your income. Again, why bookkeeping is so important, because you can link right up to QuickBooks and your bank account, your business bank account, bring all that data in, but that is taxable. Personal cash, so payments to friends and family for gifts or reimbursements, if you paying your friend back for a coffee or you make a charitable contribution, all of this stuff is not, this is not reportable or taxable, although you may receive a 1099K if you hit the limit. So you need to make sure you keep your personal separate from your business, because when that report comes, it's going to have them both on there if you're mixing them, right? So again, we're going to be at that lower threshold for 2023. If you're donating to your church through Venmo, or there's so many ways that transactions happen these days, you really want to make sure everything stays separate. And then personal sales. So this is selling personal items. Whether you're selling a couch on Facebook Marketplace, personal sales while selling personal items feels personal, but it can be a taxable situation. If you sell something for more than what you paid for it, you'll be taxed on the profit. As long as you have receipts to show how much, or you can prove the value of the item when you sell it. If you sell a couch, for example, say you sell a couch for $50, the chances are you didn't buy it for $50. It's very low, or $20, right? You have somebody coming from Facebook Marketplace, they pay you through Venmo. You want to keep record of that, what you paid for it, the value of it, what you sold it for, who you sold it to, and the date. Why? Because these forms are going to change, and this stuff is going to be, you're going to be hitting those thresholds so much quicker. So it says here on this IRS site that if you receive a Form 1099K for the personal items sold at a loss, report the information on 1040 Schedule 1 additional income adjustments to income with offsetting transactions. That's the name of the form. For example, if you receive a Form 1099K for selling your couch for $700, you'll report it on, so I'm going to show you the form live, line AZ. So that'll be the amount in, and then the adjustment would be line 24Z. Okay. So when you sell something for a loss, it makes it zero. There's no negatives. You don't get to carry the negative over. But if you sell something for a profit, now you have to pay tax on that profit. So this is the Schedule 1, which actually goes over your 1040 form. So let's take a look. So remember, it said other income. So line A, and look at all the different kind of other income that's now in this form. Z, so other income. So list the type and the amount. Say that, personal sold goods, and you're going to have to put how much money you made off the things you sold. A little bit of a description. And maybe you have a list. Keep that list organized of what you sell so that you have it for this if you're audited. And then 24Z. So this is other adjustments. So 24Z is other adjustments, where now you're going to back out that amount, right? So if you receive a 1099K for those transactions, you need to report it on your return. Again, probably not happening for 2022 tax year, but will definitely be a possibility for 2023 tax year, because there's no transaction limits and it's $600 or more. I'm going to show you the page we were just looking at where it explains things. So it actually goes through and tells you how to deal with something sold at a loss. How do you report something sold at a gain? Mix of personal business. So there's a lot of advice here on this. I am going to actually add this link. I'm making a note. So this link will be underneath the replay of this video. Remember, if you receive a 1099K, the IRS also knows that you received it, right? That was the point of these forms. So all of that gets transmitted to them with your Social Security number for personal items and your tax ID for business. Another reason to keep them separate. Once the IRS thinks that you owe additional tax on your or any unreported 1099 income, they will usually notify you and retroactively charge you penalties and interest back to the day that they believe that you owed the money. So it isn't just from when they find it out. It's when, you know, if it could be 2 tax years later, and then they're going to add all that on for the 2 years. As we wrap up, I want to go over best practices with you to keep your business and personal accounts separate. Keep clear records for your business and for your personal sales. If you have mixed transactions in an account, again, like Venmo, right? Because Venmo actually puts it all together. Even though you can have business and personal, the business does have a fee charge to it, but the reporting you have to separate. Make sure that you're printing that stuff out. Make sure you're keeping something up for yourself. And again, this is something we teach and talk about inside the Legit Photographer Collective is what is my month? What are my weekly and monthly and quarterly and annual tasks I need to be doing to keep myself organized? So I am not in January having a panic attack about all the things that I need to come up with, right? So it's all about going from reactive to proactive, staying organized. Getting financially organized is actually the name of our phase 3, is getting financially organized. So I just want to take a few minutes, like I said in the beginning, to chat with you about Legit Photographer Collective. As I mentioned earlier, we dive deeply into all the 1099 forms. Say that fast, 1099 forms. We go through all the tax forms. We go deeply through sales tax. My entire Sales Tax 101 course is inside there for you. We really address what are all the taxes you need to understand. We walk then through how to get things set up, how to file your LLC, how to file I walk you through how to fill out the form for S Corporation. I walk you through how to set up payroll and how to get things set up that you need in your business. Then we walk through full setup of QuickBooks Online. There's always new lessons coming out for QuickBooks Online. I'm just now doing a Sprout Studio with QuickBooks Online. We have a 17 hats coming. We do have in there HoneyBook. We have Dubsado. We have Session. So I'm always building that out to help you and support you so that you can handle your own bookkeeping in the scenario. And then we have phase 4 where we talk about those things, scheduling out. What are my monthly tasks? What are my quarterly tasks? What are my annual tasks? How do I stay organized? And then phase 5 is about things like, how do I grow my business? Should I rent a studio? Should I buy a studio? If I buy a studio, what do I need to be thinking about? Using your vehicle for business. More advanced topics are in phase 5, more for growth, hiring employees, contractors, and hiring, you know, what's the pros and cons of that, things like that. So I hope that you'll join us in there. You can simply go to thelegitphotographer.com and find everything you need. If you're watching the replay, there's a link under this video, but that let you know that we now have a 24-hour free access for you. So you can jump in there. You only get access to the course content or all of our lessons. But once you enroll, if you decide you love it, you get full access to the full community and our weekly Zoom calls, our monthly master classes, where I'm helping people. I'm on there sharing screen, helping them with their QuickBooks file. Like, this is what we do in there. And there's no credit card required for you to take it for a test drive. So I hope that you will, at minimum, check that out. In the meantime, friends, it's time for the live Q&A. So I'm going to close all these things down. I'm going to jump on camera. And this is, if you are watching the recording, this is where we leave you, friends. If you'd love to be here for a live Q&A on these topics, please make sure to go to bastionaccounting.com/register so that you get the link to join us live. So this is where we leave you, and make sure you check out the links below this video. Everybody else, I will be jumping on camera.